Hi guys, welcome back to the little caravan of crochet. If you don't know me, I'm Di. I am the face and the hands behind Drift Loop Crochet. So I've got a couple of big weeks ahead of me. I have just booked into my first market, and that is on the 4th of July. So today when I'm filming this is Friday the 12th of July. So I do have a couple of weeks to get organized. And then literally just as I was about to start recording this, I heard back from a second market and I've been accepted into that. Now call me crazy, it is the following weekend. So it will be on the 11th of July. So I'll have a market on the 4th. I now have a second market the following weekend on the 11th of July. And because I don't like to do things in halves, I have actually applied for a third market, which will be on the 18th of July. And so if I get accepted into that one as well, that's going to be 3 markets in 3 weekends. So absolutely huge. And I will probably ponder the intelligence behind that decision down the track. But anyway, should be right. We'll get it done. So my next couple of weeks, I'm basically getting everything done. Not only am I crocheting my products and getting the products to go out to market, because I am literally just starting my business, I need to look at packaging. I need to organize payment systems, which I think I'll use Square for that. So I need to get a Square card reader and get all of that organized, figure out how to use that, which shouldn't be too hard. It's got lots of things that I need to look at. I need to look at the actual market setup itself. I need to look at tables, tablecloths, stands, signage. It all needs to be done for the 4th of July. May the 4th be with me is all I can say. And I don't know why I'm still lisping. So today, what I want to do, I don't just make plushies. I actually have a lot of different things in my market. So I do have a range of dishcloths. I've got 3 different types of dishcloths that I do. They're all made though. I just need to package them. I do face scrubbies. I do soap savers. Behind me you can see I've got the lavender flowers. I will have some bouquets of lavenders. If I have time, I'd also like to do some roses and some sunflowers. I'm not going to push myself though. If I don't get them done, it doesn't matter. And then I have earrings. I have just small wearables like scarves and beanies. I don't do any clothing that is made to size. I'm just not interested in going down that path. That's not my thing. But I've got a lot to get done. So my plan today, before I get onto plushies, because I did actually run out of safety eyes. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen the meme that I put up the other day about running out of safety eyes. So that meant that I sort of come to a halt on crocheting the plushies. So what I'm going to do is come back. I've got these lavenders behind me. I need to get my lavenders all made up. I've got these here. So I do already have my flowers crocheted. I quite literally, here they all are. I quite literally just need to put them onto the stems. So I've used 3 different purples, plus a white. And the pattern that I've used is my own pattern. It's not published anywhere except for in a notebook that I have where I've scribbled it all down. So I thought today we might get those made up, and I'll video the process of what I do of putting these onto the stems. I still need to wrap my stems. And then once the flowers are done, my next job is my soap savers and my face scrubbies. So I do have, let's just grab these, quite a few already made up. So I've already got these. I've got more bags. Now some of them are, as I reach across the camera, more in here. Some of them are already done. Like everything in this bag is finished. They're just needing to be packaged for market. Everything in this bag is finished. Everything in there is finished. And then I got really excited because I was thinking, oh, I've only got these white ones to do. And then I was looking through this bag. So I do know that these top, oh no, it's only one. So I've only got one that needs to be done. One soap saver. That's really exciting. I thought I had a lot more than that in that bag. But what I need to do, I'll just pull some out and show you. These are my little face scrubbies. I'll put them up that way. That's my face scrubby. What I do need to do is obviously weave in the ends. They need to get done. Same with my soap savers. So this end just needs to get weaved in. And then I do have my little drawstring. So that gets weaved around the top of the soap saver and then tied into a bow. There obviously was another end down here at the bottom where I've started the soap saver. But I actually weave that in as I'm working around. It's just much easier to access down here when I'm only got a little bit of crocheting. So all the soap savers need to have that done as well. I won't video that because I think you guys probably know how to weave in ends and you don't need to see me doing it really. But what I did want to talk about, because I've got this one back here, is what I have decided to do with my packaging. So normally, if you look on Etsy or anywhere like that, when it comes to these soap savers, what most people do is they use the paper belly band and they'll wrap the paper around, and then that will have, on the front of it, will have their logo and information, whatever it is that they want to have on there. And that was the path that I was going to go down. But then I started thinking about it logistically. So for me, being in a caravan and being on the road, I don't have an A4 printer. I don't have room for a printer here in the caravan. I can't justify the space that it would take up. So if I was to go the belly band route, that would mean that I need to have all my printing done at, you know, somewhere like Officeworks or something like that. And it limits the availability really. So, you know, I have to be seriously organized to be able to do that. We don't stay in towns. Like even now while we're working on this property, we're 15 minutes out of the town. So I would need to be organized enough to have all my printing done at Officeworks, to bring it back to the caravan, and then to be able to sit down and make up however many of these I wanted to make up. And then if I needed to make extras, and if I didn't have the printing done, then that's another trip back into town just to get belly bands printed out. Not to mention the cost of having that printing done at somewhere like Officeworks or anywhere like that. So then I decided to do exactly what I've done here. And all I have done is paper raffia, wrapped it around. I've just done the crossover at the back, wrapped it around, tied in a bow. And what I have done, because I am very aware of the fact that I do need a printer, I've actually purchased a Munbin thermal printer, a label printer. So what I'm going to do is print out labels using that thermal printer. I will stick them onto a bit of cardboard as a swing tag, and then I'm just going to tie them onto the raffia. And so these will just have a double-sided swing tag. One side will have like my business name and my logo. The other side will have the care instructions on it. Simple, simple, easy, done. Something that I can create here at home when I need to, and however many I need to. So that is my option for those. I will do the same thing with my soap savers, so that I will sell them individually, but I'm also going to sell them probably in bundles of 2 or 3. So these guys I'm just going to wrap with the raffia. I'll just do a belly band with the raffia and tie a double-sided swing tag onto it. Done. All finished. So that is my goal for today. I'll get the lavenders done first, and then once the lavenders are done, I'll move on to these face scrubbies and the soap savers. I'll get all of those finished, get them all wrapped and tied up, and I probably won't worry about any printing. I want to video opening up. I have the printer out there. I haven't actually opened it. I haven't looked at it. So I was going to video opening that up, setting it up, showing you the process basically, and walking through all of that and printing out the first labels, but that will be done in a separate video. So I'm going to move on to the lavenders, do these, what are they? Face scrubbies and soap savers. And then once I've got all of that done, then we'll grab the plushies. I will run you through everything that I've crocheted, what my whips are. I do have a commission that I'm working on as well, which is very exciting. So I'll show you that. Waiting on safety eyes though. And then, yeah, we'll do a little bit more crocheting as well. Alrighty, so let's get started on the lavenders. So I'm just going to show you the finished product. So that's obviously the flower head, and then we have the stem as well. So each flower head, when you are putting it on, you can change how elongated the flower head is. You know, you can bunch it up more, you can stretch it out more, you can actually get it looking quite realistic. So this is the finished product. The stem wires that I'm using, I just get from Spotlight. I have got, I'll show you the packaging. So it is quite literally just these floral accessory stem wires. I am using the 18 gauge stem wires, and you do get 20 wires in each packet. When they come, they are quite long. So I have actually already cut these down to size. I would say that they are probably 50 centimeters long, 40 to 50 centimeters long. My stem wires, when I cut them down, I do them at 30 centimeters long. So all I did was I actually went out and grabbed the fencing pliers. So for anyone who's off a farm, if you know, you'll know what I'm talking about. I literally went out into all the fencing supplies and found my partner's fencing pliers and snipped these down with that, which is why they're also pre-cut, because I didn't want to bring those dirty manky pliers in here. So I cut all 20 of them down at once. You know, cut your first one, measure it, cut it, and then just use that as your template for your length for the other 19 that need to be cut. Doesn't matter if they're not all perfectly 30 centimeters. I just want to show you one here. So as you can see, there's that one there over here on the side. It's quite a bit shorter. Doesn't matter. You know, flowers in real life don't all come on the same length stem. So you need your flower stems. I am just using the Marvel, what is it? 4 Seasons acrylic yarn from Spotlight. Really, really cheap. Does the job. The other thing that you do need is either a hot glue gun or the glue dots. Now, I don't have a hot glue gun with me. Again, it just comes down to space and weight in the caravan. And I can't justify carting around a hot glue gun. So I use these adhesive dots. These Gorilla ones, oh my God, they are seriously sticky, really, really tough. They are quite hard to get off onto these little stems. When I've seen people use these glue dots in other videos, you watch them and they quite literally like just roll their stem onto the glue dot, and the glue dot just lifts off and perfectly rolls around their stem. What I've realized is that they use what is called balloon glue dots. So they're the glue dots for sticking balloons, like in party supplies and all that kind of stuff. So you can stick your balloons, you know, up onto a cupboard or something like that. So I think they're probably not quite as strong as what these Gorilla dots are. But that's what I use. So you get, again, I just got these from Spotlight. There's 150 dots. I will show you how they come out. So they're in sheets rather than being on a roll. But each sheet, I know you may not be able to see it, each sheet is perforated, so you can actually split them. So you can just pull 3 dots off at a time. And then I actually find it easier, so I will peel off the 3 dots in a row, and then I've actually cut mine into individual dots. Because these are so tough, so not tough but strong, I actually find it easier to handle them as individual dots. And then, yeah, I don't know if I said, just need a pair of scissors. That's about it. So I will set the camera up again and jump straight into starting to wrap the stems. So the first thing that we do is actually wrap these stems with the green yarn. So we will get into that next. Okay, so I've got my stem and I've got my glue dot. And so the first thing, these do have a little plastic coating on them. So you just take that off. I don't know if you could be able to see it. Probably not, but there. Oh, you can on a certain angle. So the glue dot's in the middle. So I quite literally, because these are so tough, I actually put my stem over to one side, and I have learnt to kind of push it on quite hard and try and really get that to stick. I don't attempt to wrap it fully around. You probably can if you're using a different brand, but these Gorilla ones, like I said, they're really tough. So I've kind of got the start of my glue dots on the stem, and you quite literally just, as you can see, I'm using a fair bit of force. Okay. So you can see that that glue dot's just hanging off to the side. So all I actually do is just use my fingers now, and I just kind of push it around the stem. So you can see I've got that glue dot onto the end of my stem. So then you quite literally just take your yarn, and I will just stick it onto the glue dot. I just stick it down one side. I actually push that in pretty hard just to make sure it is stuck there. I come over the top. Again, I'll push it on a fair bit. I've just got to swap hands. And then all I'm going to do is basically wind this around and just try and cover all the glue. And I just sort of push it in a bit into the glue just to make it stick. And then once I am off the end and I'm just down onto the stem and I'm away from the glue, you can just keep winding it on. That's not very good down there on that stem. That's pretty messy and manky and bulky, but that's okay. That'll be hidden down in the bouquet, wrapped up with paper. So that's not an issue. So quite literally you just spin it. What you may be able to see is right there, I've actually just missed a little bit of the wire. So I just push it up. I don't unravel anything. I just, because it's just wound on, you can just push it up and tighten it up onto the stem and cover up any of the wire if you've left a little gap. I'm just going to swap hands. Oopsie. Don't let go of it like what I just did. I'm just going to unravel some of that and start again. So now that we're down to the bottom, without letting go, I'm just in a few areas. You can feel where you've gone like doubled up on your wraps. So I'll just run my fingers up and down before I glue the bottom part, just to make sure that it's relatively smooth. Now that we're down to the bottom, we just put another glue dot down there and we stick the yarn down that end. Get that plastic off. It's full of static. Ooh. So it's going to be the same process as what we did at the other end. So the one thing that I have learnt when I was doing these glue dots, I know when I first started, I didn't want to touch the glue because I didn't know how sticky it was. I didn't know if you touched it, if it would lose some of that tackiness. But to be honest, you can handle it a little bit and it's perfectly fine. And hopefully, there we go, that glue dot's off. I don't know if you can see. You can see that sitting on the end. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to push him around my wire. And then we just keep raveling. Raveling, winding. And it's exactly the same as what we did at the other end. Just try and make it as neat as you possibly can. And I just pushed the yarn into the glue just so that I know it's really stuck. And that's it. So that is your stem done. Once you get to the end like that, you can quite literally just cut your yarn. I like to cut any fuzzies off. And so that is a stem fully wrapped. Now this end here is actually not too ugly. This is normally the ugly end for me, but for some reason today, when I've done this first one here, this has been my ugly end. You can see how yucky that is. So this will be the end that I put the flower, because once you put that flower on there, all of this is going to be covered. This end will be down in the bouquet. It will be covered with your wrapping paper and the ribbon or anything like that, whatever you're going to use. But it's still just a much tidier end, so that if someone does take it out of the paper, it does look a lot neater. So that is something that I do always think about when I'm doing these stems. So these are the ones that I wrapped earlier. So as you can see, this is my finishing end where I was saying like it gets the fuzzies and they're not quite as nice. If I put it down that way. This is my beginning end. That's how they normally look, but you know, of course, once you go under camera, they look like that. So with all of these ones, this end will be the end that sits in the paper because it's a lot neater. This end with these little fuzzy flyaways that's on it will be the ends that I put the flowers. So that is how you wrap your stems. So next, I'll take one of those and we will do a flower. I'll just grab one of my flower heads out. Okay, So that is my flower head. So with these, mine, oh, they all roll up really well. This, if you can see it, this flat edge that is down in there, that is the edge that you want to go against the stem. So before I put the glue on it, I'll just show you. So they start with this little top flower notch. So that is actually the part that this stem will sit into. You'll put your glue dot on the top, you'll push it into there, you're going to wrap that top bit around, and then we don't worry about glue for the rest of this flower, and then we just slowly wrap the flower around, making sure that this straight edge is always against, or that straight edge is always against the wire. And then you'll just do that all the way around. You put glue dot at the bottom to stick these ends onto, and then that's your flower head done. So let's do that now. This one's really hard with these glue dots. So the glue dots are small. They need to actually be a bit bigger than this size. So I have been putting 2 on because one glue dot doesn't wrap around the whole head of this stem. But also because these are so strong, they're quite hard to get onto this head without pulling this yarn off. So it is a bit of an effort, but I'm making it work. But I don't know if I'll buy this Gorilla brand again. I might try a different brand next time and just see if it's any easier. Yeah, it's just a little bit difficult. I do find if I do push the glue dot on, sort of scrub it on, it seems to work a little bit better. And now you've just got to, that one's much better. So he's only sort of gone 3/4 of the way around. So I'm just going to grab another glue dot. Got my fingers all messed up here. And I actually, where is it? Yeah. To there. I do find if you do these stems and if you let them sit for a little while before you try to put the flower, like put another glue dot around the yarn, it's like the glue dots that you've already put on sort of dry out a bit, so they're not quite as pliable. So this process of trying to put a second glue dot over the top does seem to be a lot easier when you've let your stem sit and let that other lot of glue kind of dry out for a while. Alrighty, I'm just making sure I've got the glue right over the tip of that. So I've just opened up this little flower head. Let's roughly figure out where I want my flower to go. Push him under the top. Just going to stretch him around a little bit. Push him into that glue. Stretch him around from this side. Push him into the glue. So that is the top. That's the top section glued on. We don't need to put any more glue. Now we literally just wind the flower on. Okay, so that's him down to the bottom. So it's sort of up to you. This is where you can now play with them. I kind of like to scrunch mine up a bit, cover that top nicely. Make sure I haven't got any stems showing through. You do have, even once you've glued the bottom, you will still have a little bit of adjustment in the flower head with what you would like to do. Just sort of get it to where what you think looks good. And then we just need to whack a glue dot down the bottom. I just sort of roughly look at whereabouts I want that glue dot to kind of go. Pull that up. This one's a bit fiddlier. Just trying to get the glue dot on. Because the other thing is that as you're trying to pull this glue, the backing off your glue dot, like I'm flexing against that stem wire a fair bit, and they do bend quite easily. So, you know, it's no biggie. You can just bring it back straight, but I'm trying not to get too much of a flex into my wire as I'm coming around. So you've got your glue dot there, and then I quite literally just grab these ends that we've kept, and I'm just going to wrap them around the wire over the top of the glue, exactly exactly how we did the stem. Push them into the glue, make sure they're really stuck, and same deal again, grab your scissors and just cut those ends off. Let's get rid of the fluffies. Tidy him up a bit, and that is it. That is how you do your lavender stems. So you can still play and fluff. There is still movement here with the flower. You can sort of pull him up and pull him down, but obviously he is fixed at either end, so it is limited movement. You can't actually make your flower any longer than that, but you can change where you want it bunched up and whether or not you want, you know, everything in alignment or what you want done. So that's a lavender flower made. So then you just continue that process for all your stems and all your flower heads. And I think I have something like 20 flower heads left to go. Hi guys, so it is now a couple of days later, and look, I'd like to say I've been slack, but I actually haven't been slack. I've been very, very busy. I have done a couple of other videos in between then and now. One of those videos has just been released, and that was my video on setting up and doing my first label using the Munban, what's it called, thermal label printer. And I've actually done that video in real time. So I unbox it, set it up with my laptop, and I print out the first label using the online editor. You know, you get to see firsthand how easy or difficult it is. Did encounter a few issues, so you know, that's just all there for you to have a look at. And you know, I'm not sponsored by Munban. It was just literally I'm going to video this so that you can see what the process is. So the other night I did get my lavenders finished. I did finish putting those all together. I also did finish sewing in all the ends on my face scrubbies and the soap savers. So I laid out my soap savers and the face scrubbies, all of what I had, and just sort of noticed I had a few holes in terms of, or a few gaps in terms of numbers for different colors. So I've made a list. I think I've got about 8 scrubbies that I need to, 8 soap savers that I need to make yet. And I think there's about 15 scrubbies across all the colors. And then once I've done those, that will be my face scrubbies and soap savers finished. I'll have my dishcloths completely finished. And I did go ahead with the lavender. I had all the stems sitting in a glass, and oh my god, they looked magnificent. They were so beautiful. And I did make a little short. I put that up here on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. Made a short using that glass of lavender flowers. So if you haven't seen it, go have a look. It's a bit of a cute little short. But I'll pop a photo up here of the lavenders all together in the glass. Honestly, they were just beautiful. But I knew that if I did not get them packaged up into the bouquets, and if I just left that glass sitting here in the caravan full of my lavender stems, I knew that I wouldn't do it, and I would actually keep them for myself. So I've gone ahead and I've made the bouquets. So I've got them back here. I'll just bring some up. So all I have done, let me get them back far enough. So that's the finished product. It's very, very simple. I put 5 stems into my bouquet, and then it's literally just some craft paper wrapped around and tied with the jute string. So yeah, just a very, very simple packaging, and I will probably just lay these down in like a cane basket or something on my market, and just, yeah, have a price there. Now, the only thing that I did want to do with these is pop a swing tag on there that will have just my logo, my website, email address. On the back we'll have care instructions and the materials. I was going to say ingredients. I'm a little bit off with the fairies today. So that's the only thing that needs to go onto these. I was 1 lavender stem short. At the moment I've got 4 bouquets up there. So I have made the head of a lavender in this color, and I've just got to put that stem together, and then I can wrap that bouquet. So I'll just take the 5 bouquets with me, and I'll just see how they go. But now that they're all finished, you know, originally I was sort of thinking, looking at them before I'd packaged them up, I was thinking, you know, maybe $18 or something. I don't know. But now that I've got them finished, like they look really, really nice. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to price these at $25 a bouquet. You know, there's a lot of work and a lot of time that goes into creating these. So I would pay $25. I think that's a fair price for them. So that's sort of the update on all of that. So now we will get on to the plushies. So with my plushies, because up until now I haven't had a market booked in, I quite literally have just been making whatever I make whenever I felt like it. There was no rhyme nor reason to the plushies that I have made. That will now change because, you know, I do have a market. So I think the next video I will do is purely as a 100% plushie market prep. And we will go through all the plushies that I've got, look at the numbers, look at, you know, the price ranges that I have, find where the holes are, and then I will actually make some plushies for my market. But I just want to show you some of what I have been doing. So obviously, as everyone does, I have my little loaf kitties that I've made. I do only have these 2. So this one is a little bit smaller. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it is ever so slightly smaller. This one I made with the Spotlight value ball. I think it's the Stash Stripes. This one, very, very cute. This one I will have made with Patty's Plush. And this one is basically my design, inspired by my beautiful little shadow, if you've seen Dozy on some of my videos. I just wanted a black cat, but then I was like, an all black might be a bit boring. even though shadow's pretty much all black. So I just added the white onto the ear, you know, little white tip of the tail, little back leg has got white as well. You know, that's not an Annie Caraway. It's not in her patterns. Basically, you can do whatever you want with these guys. Just change your yarn and put a different colour in there. So yeah, Patty's Plush with that one. Then the next one are my little rubber ducks. Now I am obsessed. These guys are just adorable. So you may have seen, I do have another little series going on my shorts and on Instagram where I'm testing free patterns off Instagram and looking at how they come up, how quick it takes to make them, and whether or not they're, you know, market ready or market approved. So these guys, I've done a video on them. They are definitely market approved. They work up in under 15 minutes. They are no-sew. The beak is surface crocheted on, and they're just adorable. And I've used a couple of different yarns. So this yarn is the Patty's Plush. I didn't have any Patty's Plush in orange, so I've done the orange beak is the Zaddy Crafts, a really good chenille. So I've just mixed stuff up. These two are a yarn that I haven't spoken about before. The blue and the yellow, they are both the Scarly chenille. I can't remember what it is. It's Teddy Bear or something like that. It sheds, like it really sheds. And I have a real love-hate relationship with it. Like this is the first time I've ever used it. And I think this little blue duck was the first one that I did. And I was like, I hate this yarn. I absolutely hate it when I was using it. And then when I'd finished the duck, I was like, oh, but he's so cute. And honestly, the feel, the sensation, like, oh, it's just to die for. So I hate working with the Scarly yarn, but I love the finished product. These are just adorable. So yeah, I probably won't make a lot with the Scarly yarn. It'll be very select what I use it for. But yeah, I do, just the feel of it is fantastic. Next are the little bees, and I have also made a couple of, my hands aren't big enough. I have also made a couple of little rainbow bees. These are just off a YouTube tutorial, which is by, it's either Sammy or Crochet by Sammy. She's a crochet artist down in Hobart in Tasmania. So I quite literally have just made these. This is, you know, what Sammy does, as in this colour. And then I wanted to do the rainbow bees. I wanted to keep everything the same. So all I literally did, it's the same pattern, but for these 2 rows of yellow and these 2 rows of black, all I did was change colour each time to get my rainbow bee. That's the only difference for them. Again, with my yarns, these guys are all, I'm just having a feel just to make sure. Yeah, so all of these are Zaddy Crafts, a really good chenille. Really quick pattern as well. Works up so quick, so simple, so easy. I really like the way Sammy does the wings. They are just a magic circle. And you don't join it, you don't do anything, and then you just sew your magic circle on. So very simple. Some of these I will sell as is. Some of them I will pop onto keychains. Next are my little Tilly the turtles, who are just so adorable. Again, there is my short on this pattern. Absolutely 100% market ready. Love this pattern. They work up really quick. They're really easy. And I just love them. They're adorable. This one is made using the Patty's Plush. And then this one is made using the Spotlight Value Ball. And it'll just be like their stash velour or whatever it is. But yeah, they come up so cute. And then what else have I got? I've only got one of these. This is another free pattern off Instagram. So it is the Ducks in Frogs hat. Adorable little pattern. Absolutely love it. And again, this is made using Patty's Plush for the green and the body, and the Zaddy Crafts a really good chenille for the orange. But I will definitely make more of those. I do only have one of this, and I'd like to make a few more. Again, I will leave some that are just like this, and some I will pop a keychain on top of. And then I also have the Stacked Chicks. This pattern it's a paid pattern from Maddie Rose, who's a crocheter up in Sydney. Really, really cute little pattern. Absolutely love it. Works up really quick. It looks like it should be, you know, quite timely, I guess, to do it, but it's just a really quick pattern and it's gorgeous. I also am not usually one to pop blush on, but honestly, the blush just makes so much difference with this pattern. They looked very plain until I put the blush in there, and then I was like, oh, they're really cute. And then lastly in this lot, we have my little riffs. I think these are the riffs, little rift octopus. And I am in love with this pattern as well. It is a paid pattern from the Crochet Carpenter. I do have another color, which is this color. And these are all made using the Spotlight Value Ball. Sorry if you can hear that truck in the background. We've just got cattle coming in and cattle being moved at the moment and trucked out and all sorts of things going on in the background here. So yeah, I love these guys. So one thing that you can do that is stated in the pattern, if you change your tension when you're making the tentacles, you can make them straighter or curlier. So I purposely have used different tension in my tentacles to get them to curl up or to be straighter. So that's just a pretty cool little thing. And then that's all I've got in my small plushies. Then we're going to move to the big ones. Now you will have all seen this that's going around at the moment, which is the Sleeping Dragon. I'm trying to get around him, it's too big. An absolutely beautiful pattern. I love this guy. If we lived in a house, I probably wouldn't be selling him, but we are, or we don't. So this one, I've made him with a different yarn. This one I've made with the Aldi yarn, which is why he's considerably bigger than all my other projects as well. I'm only going to leave it at the one. I don't know how these will sell. So for now, I'll just take the one Sleeping Dragon. And if he sells at my first market, then I'll knock some more up. Another one of my absolutely favouriteest, most adorable patterns is this macaron. This is a free pattern off Instagram. It works up really quick. It is quite thick and quite chunky. The only thing that I have to do is just pop the smile on there and then it's finished. These, you know, I might only do, I'd say no more than probably 3 of them. I might do 1 or 2 for a market. You know, they're not a 15-minute make, but I just think they're so adorable. I do believe that these will sell, and they're probably something that, you know, I might take 1 or 2 to a market and just see how they go. But absolutely love that. We'll definitely use that pattern. And then lastly, we have this little guy, and he is another free pattern off Instagram. It's called the Sun Bag Charm. He's very labor intensive. So with this pattern, you make the front, and you make the back. They're 2 separate pieces, and you also make your little legs separately. And then you're to sew the front and the back together, and you're meant to sew the little legs in. The only issue when you do it the way the designer does it is that when you just sew around these edges, with the way that they're there, you've actually got these holes in under each, I don't know, little ray. And so there wouldn't be any sewing for the actual body, which is where you stuff it. And they actually stayed in the pattern to not put too much stuffing in, because otherwise it'll come out through those holes. So I did mine really differently. I have crocheted along this bottom edge. I've crocheted along there, and I crocheted the legs in so that I know that they're in there nice and solid. I just think it's more secure than just hand sewing in as you're sewing this up closed. So I crocheted through there. I then thought I'll see if I can just do single crochets around the edge to close it up. And it was too heavy and it was losing some of the definition. So I pulled that out, and then I ended up doing 2 lots of hand sewing. I've hand sewed around the body on the inside, and that has let me put a lot more stuffing in there. Like, this guy's quite chunky. I don't know if you can see that, but he just looks, I wanted to make him chunky. So that has let me put a lot more stuffing into him. And then once I've sewed this up, then I've had to come along and I've had to hand sew all of these together as well. So he was very labor intensive. He did take quite a while to work up. But having said that, while he's not a quick, turn out in 15-20 minutes, a really fast market make, he's still something that I will make for the markets. I do love him. He's just adorable. And, when I have the time, he will definitely be going up onto my market list. Sorry guys, that's just the tractor heading out now, because I'm having sticky beak. Looks like they're feeding. So we're in winter down here. So where we are at the moment, we're just outside Shepparton in Victoria, and it's winter, and we've just had rain. It's really cold. It's quite disgusting today. The cattle have just calved down. The girls are out there. Sorry, I talk like I'm still on the farm. The cows are out there with their calves. In this weather, it's just not nice. So they've just got all the tractors going. They're taking silage out. They're taking hay out. They're taking dry food out there so that the cows have got something nice and dry and warm to go into their bellies so that they can keep feeding their bubbies. So yeah, there will be a tractor in the background. I'm so sorry. So that's pretty much where I'm at with all my plushies. My next step, like what I said, which will be in the next video, I will go through with you. I'll show you everything that I have made, everything that I have, and then we will just I'll look at where the gaps are, look at what I need to make. Today is, I think today's the 20th of June, so I still have a little while until the market's here. It's the 4th of July that the market is on, but that time will go really quick. So essentially what I'm trying to do now is not have any whips. So if I start something, it needs to be finished. If it's going to be on that market table on the 4th of July, I need to do it from start to finish, unless the only reason that I'm not allowed to finish something is if I'm waiting for supplies. Like, I do have a few whips where I am waiting on safety eyes to turn up. So obviously there's not much I can do about that. But yeah, that's my only rule that I have given myself leading up to the market. If I start it, it's got to be finished. So I'm going to leave it there. I will see you again. Hopefully it'll be in a week, and we will run through everything. And I would say, knowing what I'm like, because I multitask. I'm really bad at multitasking, actually, in terms of I will have lots and lots and lots of things on the go at once. Because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about the steps that I need to take to get to that market, given that this is my first market ever. So I'm thinking about everything that I need to do. So I also think that maybe when we lay these out in the next video, might actually do it on the table that I'll be taking to the market, so that I can also start to get an idea of the display, and I can start to kind of picture things in my head and figure out how I want to display things, where I want to display them, and then that will also give me an idea on whether I want to create plushies with height or plushies in a certain color to kind of go with what I already have. So that's my thinking, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and until I see you again, take care, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.